My name is Kaden, and I will be reading a creative nonfiction piece written by me, uh, and its title is Religious Suicide. Here we go. It all came to a point on a family vacation to Hawaii where the only thing I could think about was my imminent death. The thought came upon me, looking down on a beautiful canyon, that the only way I could know when and how I would die is by killing myself. Looking down into that beautiful canyon, I realized I could have control, if only for a little. Death will consume us all one day. Will it be today, tomorrow, 3 years from now, 30 years down the road? It's nearly impossible to say, given there is almost no way to know. That, in the end, is what's truly terrifying about death. It came for all those before us, and it will come for everyone who comes after us. Someday, death will stop for us animals. Not out of some magical cure for death, but rather out of it not having any crumbs left to consume. How does such a fluid being, such as a human, such as myself, live and thrive in such a rigid world such as ours? What does a human do when being thrust into a life of rigidity? They must escape that box. One of those boxes I had to escape was the box of religion. Religion for some can be healing, soothing, and even life-changing. However, for some, as for I, religion acts as a barrier, a hindrance, even a fear. One fear, at least for me, tied to religion, was the fear of death. I used to be so very scared of death and the end of the world. Growing up religious, I would pray every single day to God for the world not to end until I got married at the very least. As I got older, I asked, no, I begged for more and more. I asked for God not to end the world until I had a kid. Then, I asked to raise that child, and eventually, asking to let that child have a child of their own. Was I greedy? No, I was human. Once, when I was in church, we were learning about that dreaded subject, the end of the world. While talking about this uncomfortable subject, it felt as if my leg was about to blast off, going up and down 1,000,000 miles an hour. I was doing anything to keep my mind off of what would inevitably put my mind into a downward spiral. Halfway through, I asked to go to the bathroom, but really, I just needed a break. My mind needed a break from the stressors my brain was creating. I ended up heading back, but as it seems, not late enough. I came back just in time to say the prayer. Now, while I did have things I wanted to pray for, the usual things, the greedy things, for this class, I wanted nothing more than to just be done. I did not want to be vulnerable. I was a human who just wanted to live my life and not have it cut short because of something I could not control. I wanted what I saw my parents and grandparents have: happiness, love, family. I wanted the experience of raising a family, the hardships and the happiness. I wanted my child to be able to experience that too. I felt as if I was powerless, and none of my choices mattered if the world could just end at any moment. I felt that if I could not have what I felt like would make me happy, a family and kids, then what was the point in me being on Earth in the first place? Having that fear of death and the end of the world really took its toll on me and my mental health. When your mind never has a break from worrying about the end of the world and the ceasing of your own existence, you are bound to have bad thoughts arise. That dreaded moment came when looking down at the serene, colorful valleys of the canyon, the sun beating on my neck, the wind blowing my messy hair into my face. Would the view from the fall of this canyon be as beautiful as the canyon itself? How would this affect my family standing right behind me? Surely they would be devastated. And my friends who I love, I would never be able to see them again. I would never be able to laugh again. This choice would have consequences way beyond me. In the end, what brought me back in was being that same greedy human that brought me to that point. Not all greed is bad as it seems. Sometimes human greed can save your life. After just a few moments, that wave of realization came over me. Realizing that this worry, this dread, was consuming me and putting my mind in a very dangerous place. There were so many beautiful things in our world and so many people who loved me. I had to stop worrying about death so much. Thus began my journey of finding a lifestyle that worked for me, a life of less rigidity, and consequently, more fluidity. Through the first few years after my realization, I still went to church, as I lived with my family, but put most of the topics relating to death and the end as an aside from my mind. Doing this was helpful, however, it was inevitable for times to occur where death and the end of the world were large topics of conversation. And it wasn't as if I could just leave because I was there with family. Eventually, I talked to my parents, more specifically to my mother, as she is better at understanding and seeing where I come from. She understood and comforted me by telling me that whether or not I went to church, she would still love me. Even though you might think that parents would love their children no matter where their path seems to be leading, I was super worried about what my parents would think of me after distancing myself from religion. This gave me the relief I needed to finally start fixing myself and start healing from the scars of my past. The start of this healing process was honestly a suicide of sorts. Exactly what brought me to this healing. A religious suicide. Killing off the part of me that held all of that nasty fear and dread, killing off that part of me that held those beliefs, killing my religious self, becoming a new version of myself. Not necessarily new, maybe closer to refurbished. Although my religious self may not be completely dead, it is not as lively and fearful as it once was. I did not leave religion to pursue a life of sin, nor did I leave to break any of the rules set from the religion. I left out of self-preservation. I feel like most people who leave religion often get portrayed as someone who left because they wanted to sin. It can be so much more than that. Someone could leave because, like me, they have a debilitating fear ingrained in them tied to said religion. Someone could leave because they may not agree with all of the principles the religion sets out. While this is part of my reason, it's not my big reason. Someone could leave out of safety, feeling unsafe around those who are part of the religion. No matter what someone's reason for leaving religion may be, I think it's vastly important to consider that people are complex, and they're not necessarily bad or evil just because they leave. Since then, I've gone to church a few times, but even if it played a large role in my life before, now it is something that does not play a giant role in my life and has been replaced with the sweet enjoyment of life and the indescribable beauty of the world around us, and the immense love I feel from and for my friends, family, and loved ones. Life has been brighter and more beautiful than that canyon on that humid summer day since I started to keep a distance from religion for my own mental health. I have begun enjoying the things around me more because I put fear and religion out of my mind as much as I could. I am free.